Good evening, Chicago. Welcome back into the Chi-Town Weekly here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Lots to go in the show tonight. Of course, we're going to be recapping the Super Bowl, that beatdown of a game that we saw last night. But we're going to be doing that in the lens of the Chicago Bears. We also got news and lots of nuggets from Super Bowl week concerning the Bears that we will go through, that we'll get through tonight. Then the Bulls. So the NBA trade deadline came and went. And I don't get it. I am confused. We got to try and figure out what exactly these guys are trying to do. And then some encouraging news to get out of the show tonight. Cubs pitchers and catchers reported to spring training on Sunday. Baseball is right around the corner. We will discuss that as well. All that and more coming up right now on Chi-Town Weekly. Buckle on up, everybody. Let's have some fun. Let's go. And hello and good evening, everyone. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Glad that you are here and ready to rock and roll with another episode of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Sorry for the little bit of a delay in the show tonight for those of you that regularly watch the show live. Unfortunately, some behind-the-scenes stuff forced me to push the start time back about an hour. I got home and my son is a little under the weather, so my wife and I have to attend to him and then also our daughter, so I had to get that kind of taken care of, and that just forced us to push the show back a little bit. So sorry for those of you that are they were going, why in the world is the show not on time? But thank you for being here. I appreciate that. We are still going to have ourselves a good show here tonight. Going to do our best anyway. Lots to get through in the show tonight. Of course, we're going to talk about some of the Super Bowl and how that went down yesterday, but we're going to do that through the lens of the Bears. We want to keep things Bears-centric and Bears-focused here on the show, and just all kinds of other Bears news and notes from Super Bowl week that we want to get through and we want to talk about as well. So we've got that going on tonight as well. Then we're going to be talking Bulls because the NBA trade deadline came and went Thursday, and I'm so confused. I am just so confused by what the plan apparently is over there on Madison Street, what they're planning on doing at the Madhouse, because it doesn't seem to make any sense at all. So we'll try to put that together and understand what is going on with the Bulls. And then the Cubs, pitchers and catchers reported to Arizona spring training yesterday. So we'll have a little bit of Cubs conversation before we get out of here tonight as well. So lots to get through on the show tonight. Going to be a busy night. Without any further ado, though, a quick note from our sponsors, and then we will dive right in to the football discussion here on Chi-Town Weekly. Let's go.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
And welcome back into the show here on Chi-Town Weekly. Want to say thank you, of course, to each and every one of our sponsors here at the network. Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, Vital Apparel, Seal the Deal Wax Seals, and also, we also are sponsored by Get Raw Nutrition Supplements. Go to getrawnutrition.com, use the promo code IESR for 10% off of your order. This show is available for you on Twitter. You can follow along with us at IESRC is where you follow along with the show account. You can also follow along with me personally on Twitter at Adam_Karnick. I am also on Blue Sky at Adam K87. So you can follow along there and keep up with everything. And hopefully the audio is a little bit better. I was getting some feedback that apparently some things were coming in double there during the intro. So sorry about that. I think we have fixed the audio glitches now, though we should be good and rolling. If you hear something strange and you're listening live, hop on into the comments. Let me know if something strange is going on. So if you are watching the show live across Facebook or Twitter or on YouTube, welcome on in. Drop us a comment. Let us know that you're here. I see Taryn Rodriguez in the chat. Good evening. We're going to try our best to have an awesome show. Absolutely. I wanted to start things off, of course, with the Super Bowl. That even though Chicago isn't directly involved, it's hard to do a sports show in North America and not be talking about the Super Bowl the day after. Good evening, Ralph Calise. Ralph Calise chiming on in, the best Chicago sportscaster around. Well, I try hard anyway. I appreciate the compliment. Thank you, Ralph. Appreciate the compliment. At the same time, though, when we're going to be talking about the Super Bowl, I want to do it through the lens of the Bears. You know, looking not just how close are they? How far away are they? This, that, or the other thing, but just things that jumped out at me as a Bears fan and a Bears observer that I think other fan bases wouldn't necessarily have picked up on. You know, one of the first things was the Matt Nagy versus Vic Fangio matchup. Vic Fangio, first of all, kudos to you, sir. What a performance by that Eagles defense. That was the most dominant defensive performance we have seen in a Super Bowl in close to 10 years. Larry was bringing it up during the game. Larry B, the czar and overlord of all things, IE Sports Radio. He brought up that this was reminding him of the Seahawks and the Seahawks and the Broncos game from a little while ago. Oh, I'm getting some feedback. Apparently, I'm getting an echo in here. Sorry about that. I'm not hearing it on my end, so I just had to kind of take it from everybody else telling me. So I do apologize for that. Let me see if I can and fix and get that taken care of here. Let me know if that fixed it and adjusted it. If not, we'll okay. It sounds, some people are saying it sounds great. Some people are saying that they're hearing double. So I'm not sure. We'll just play it by ear, I guess. We'll see how it's coming through. So yeah, I was just reminded though, just how dominant of a game that was by Fangio. And I pointed out in one of my other chats that it was, well, sure, who else but Vic Fangio would know Matt Nagy that well. You know, you had the head coach and the offensive play caller from the 2018 Bears and the defensive coordinator from the 2018 Bears together playing against each other in that game last night. And I saw several Chicago fans mentioning it, that it was, boy, this is what 2018 could have been for the Bears. You know, Coach Fangio had gotten the defense to the level. It was just, unfortunately, everybody else, the rest of the team just wasn't there. But that was a stellar performance from the Eagles defense. Patrick Mahomes looked like Mitchell Trubisky last night. That was another one of the jokes going around Bears Twitter last night, but it really was true that Mahomes looked ordinary last night. And it's a shame that a coach can't win the MVP. And it's also a shame that it's so hard for defensive players to get that kind of recognition, because no offense to Jalen Hurts, he played a fine game last night. He made some excellent throws and was a difference maker, but he had no business winning the MVP last night. That if there was ever a game where a defensive player should have gotten MVP, Josh Sweat would have been a perfect choice. The other thing that jumped out to me, though, with that, as we're getting ready to talk about this through the lens of the Bears, they did all that without blitzing, without sending extra people. And we've talked about in Chicago so often the last few years, the Bears have to blitz. They've got to blitz. They've got to blitz to create pressure. They've got to blitz to create pressure. In this day and age in the NFL, if you can get consistent pressure with just your front four and leave the back seven back to cover, the Bears secondary is strong enough on its own to hold up. The Bears just need to be able to get pressure without blitzing. Taryn putting into the chat room. Yeah, I've seen variations on this a lot. Wondering, had the Bears drafted Mahomes, is that what Mahomes would have looked like in Chicago? It's some of that is self-deprecating. Some of that is just the way Chicago fans are at this point, that it's just, we're not allowed to have nice things kinds of thinking. I do wonder, though. I do wonder. How much of Patrick Mahomes is Andy Reid? How much of him is Matt Nagy? And how much of him is Patrick Mahomes? I think had the Bears drafted Mahomes, I don't know that he would have been as bad as last night regularly, but that it probably would have been frustrating, yes. Because you remember, he would have had John Fox for a season. Excuse me while I just barf all over my microphone here. And all the disaster that was. And then, but then he would have gotten Nagy. And remember that Nagy had Patrick Mahomes as his top quarterback on the board from that draft. I think certainly the rise wouldn't have been as fast for Mahomes as it was, and there would have been a lot more bumps in the road along the way. I think games like last night from Mahomes probably would have been a little bit more regular. They wouldn't have been as the far extreme end, the left-hand end of the bell curve, I think, with him, had he been a Bear. Wes Trueblood, good to see you. Wes, haven't seen you for a couple weeks. Hope all is well for you. Yeah, talking somewhat Tampa 2, somewhat just overall defensive philosophy. As Dennis Allen is getting ready to come in here and take over as defensive coordinator and play caller for the Bears, last night reminded me, I've kind of started to come to the conclusion in the thinking that anymore in the modern NFL, as a defensive play caller, you almost need to create chaos. You need to be able to create that doubt in the quarterback and the offensive line's minds of, is that guy coming or is that guy staying? Am I seeing what I really think I'm seeing here from these guys? Is this really, and question yourself so that then they're reacting rather than diagnosing and dissecting and creating chaos that way. You saw last night that no, if you've just got 4 Banff defensive linemen, look it up if you don't know, that just send them. and let them create havoc all on their own. There wasn't anything necessarily unseen or just, oh my goodness, what a genius. There wasn't the mad scientist type stuff that Fangio was doing last night. He was just getting his down linemen in the best position to succeed and then having them attack and then just dropping the other 7 guys back. And hey, the ball's going to be coming to you and it's going to be coming out hot. Be ready for it. Dennis Allen, we know that Dennis Allen loves to use his secondary. I think the Bears secondary can be a strength here. We've known that they need to build up that defensive line, build up that front 4. Man, Jalen Carter, I understand. I understand why they didn't take him, and I like Darnell Wright. I really do. But watching Jalen Carter last night, I could not help but thinking, man, he would look so good in a Bears uniform. He would have looked so good in a Bears uniform. That pressure right up the middle for as complicated and complex and convoluted as it can be to play defense in the NFL. Nothing beats pressure right in a quarterback's face, straight up the gut. There's not a whole lot you can do as an offense to mitigate pressure straight through the A-gap. And that's what Jalen Carter is able to do so consistently. And I know that I understand that there were all the questions a year ago with the drag racing and the driving violations and questions about work ethic and attitude and all those things. And I get it that if he were in any other place other than Philly, surrounded by a bunch of his former Georgia teammates, things might not be the same as they are right now. But man, I see that guy and just, Ryan Poles decided not to take him. And it's still, there's a part of me that's just, I wanted that. I wanted that guy. But that is neither here nor there at this, at this point, it is what it is. And you've just got to build. We'll be talking more about this as we get more into draft season, but doing some preliminary stuff on it already. I know that there are people that feel that this is a very strong defensive line class coming out. So maybe the Bears will be able to find their Jalen Carter. Wes, boy, then there's a callback to Tank Johnson flashbacks, huh? Yeah, a guy that if he could just keep his head screwed on right, could be an absolute monster at the defensive tackle position, but he had a hard time keeping his head screwed on right. So that was the problem there. But it may not have been the most entertaining of Super Bowls last night, but it was certainly impressive to behold and watch all throughout the night. Some other kind of Bears news and notes and tidbits from the Super Bowl buildup. I did appreciate Matt Nagy when he was asked by the CHGO guys during media week if he had any advice for Ben Johnson, and it was beat the Packers. I did appreciate that. It does seem like that Nagy has ultimately, he's made peace with how things went in Chicago, and good for him, genuinely good for him on that. And the overwhelming talk too from Bears players that were on Media Row and other personalities that were asked about the Bears situation, just the universal praise for getting Ben Johnson to be the head coach. It still is kind of sinking in how the Bears were able to get not just the number one guy on their list, but the number one guy on everybody's list, with the exception of the New England Patriots, because the New England Patriots are being the New England Patriots with the Mike Vrabel thing. But I'm still not used to everybody giving the Bears such praise and admiration for that. Unfortunately, there was sad news that came for the Bears during Super Bowl week. 2 deaths in the Bears extended family. First of all, rest in peace to Dick Jauron, former head coach of the Chicago Bears and the Buffalo Bills. Jauron was the coach that replaced Dave Wannstedt in the late 90s, 1999. Coached the Bears from 99 to 2003. Not my first Bears game, but a Bears game that I will remember for the rest of my life was the day that Dick Jauron's Bears won the NFC Central in January of 2002, but it was the regular season finale of the 2001 season. Bears were 12-3, and amazingly enough, needed a win against the Jacksonville Jaguars to clinch the NFC Central. The final game ever as the NFC Central, the final regular season game at Old Soldier Field. It's a game I'll always remember because Keith Traylor had the greatest big man interception that I'll probably ever see live. Had he scored on that. But unfortunately, it went downhill for Jauron after that. I believe after that season, he only won another 20 games over his final 4 years with the team total. But that one season in 2001 was absolute magic. Absolute magic that season. With Jim Miller and Anthony Thomas and rookie Brian Urlacher and everything there for that one season. It looked like it was coming together. Dick Jauron passed away at the age of 74. So condolences to his family. Rest in peace, coach. And then the huge one, Mama Bear herself, Virginia McCaskey, the daughter of Papa Bear Halas, passed away at the age of 102 last week. When the news came down, I knew that the NFL was going to do something on Super Bowl Sunday, some kind of tribute. They put it in the pregame, but at the same time, right before kickoff was where they put it. It was very nicely done, very well handled by the NFL. 102 years old. It's amazing to think about and fathom. The Bears themselves were founded in 1920. She was born 3 years later. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but there was something like there's only been about 20 games in the entire franchise's history that she wasn't alive for. That's amazing. That's incredible. Obviously not a very vocal owner. For those that don't know the history, it was never Papa Bear's intention that Virginia take over as the matriarch of the organization. It was always supposed to be her brother, George Jr., that was supposed to take over. Unfortunately, he passed away from a heart attack. And so Virginia was then thrust into the scene a little bit. I think I've talked about this before. Papa Bear Hallis never wanted Virginia's husband, Ed McCaskey, to have anything to do with control of the family business, but that's how that's how it worked out. That's how things came to be. So she was never the most vocal owner. She was never one to make sure the spotlight was always on her by any means. But at the same time, she was a student of the game. One of the great quotes that I remember reading from her was she talked about how it's a privilege to be where they are, owning the charter franchise of the NFL. And she wanted to make sure that as people came through the door, they realized and understood the privilege of the position that they're in and respect that and try to honor that. As we get into the off season, I do want to discuss a little bit more of maybe some of the aftermath of this and what this might mean for the future of the franchise. But for the first episode since her passing, I don't think that's appropriate. For right now, rest in peace, Mama Bear. You leave behind an incredible legacy. And now you get to go home with Dad and talk football again with Dad. What an amazing experience that will be. We are going to take for ourselves a quick break, and then on the flip side, we're going to talk some NBA. I cannot for the life of me figure out what the Bulls' plan is. We're going to try to dissect that and figure this out next. You are tuned into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We will be right back after this.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Yeah, we had both sides of the Super Bowl on the station, Kansas City and Philadelphia. So you can check out both This Is KC Sports and Philly Sports, their side and take of everything. Before we go any further, I do want to give a big shout out and kudos to everybody across the network yesterday with 3 and Out, the grand finale show that went on. It started at 9 a.m. Central Time yesterday and went all the way up to 5 o'clock right before kickoff. Everybody on the network breaking down the Super Bowl, getting you set up and ready for it. Larry B, Taryn Rodriguez, Ricky K, Ralph Calise, Big Mike, Andre from NorCal Sports, so many hosts, Aaron Yowell from Mile High, everybody breaking down and getting everything ready. So big shout out and kudos to all of you guys taking part of that. I was busy getting everything ready for hosting the Super Bowl yesterday. So I was busy making food all day long, so I was not able to contribute other than listening, but everybody did a terrific job. So hats off and kudos to everybody for that. All right. We're going to talk about the Bulls. What is going on with this team? So this time a week ago, we were talking about the Zach LaVine trade and how finally the Bulls have declared a direction that, all right, it wasn't a great, it's still being the third team in a 3-team deal, and you're the runt of the litter coming to the bowl and not getting great return, but at least it was something. Yes, you got control of your own first round pick back for this year, and you don't have to worry about it hanging over your head for future drafts of, eventually we're going to have to pay out to San Antonio for something on this. This is going to be terrible. You got that off of you. But then there was nothing else after it. No other deal, not even like a pick swap move or anything else, nothing else done by Acme, by Karnisovitz, or by Mark Eversley. I don't get it. Wes putting in the chat room here, the Bulls are desperate to be the proverbial team who's actually able to rebuild on the fly without a lottery pick. I feel like Karnisovitz he's too in love with this roster, with each of these individual pieces. He recognizes that the whole isn't good enough, but it feels like he just is scared to move on from any of these guys. Lonzo Ball, still here. Okay, he's been a terrific story. It's been amazing that Lonzo Ball has been able to return to the court and play at all this season, let alone thriving and playing anywhere near as well as he is. Vucevic is still a double-double machine. Great. Why do you have him? Ayo Dosunmu, great story. Local kid done great. Yes, it's a fantastic story, but it's time to close the book on that. It's time to finish that chapter and let him go start a new chapter. Kobe White, you did a great, you drafted him, you developed him. it's not going to turn into anything right now. So you've got to move on. You've got to move on. No other moves, no other deals of any kind. And then Karnisovitz afterwards, he brought up in his post-trade deadline presser, brought up how he wants to see how the next 30 games go. And we keep hearing this every trade deadline. Well, we want to see how these next 30 games go. Then we'll know what we have. We're going to see how things go after these next 30 games. Then we'll understand what we have and we'll know what direction we need to move on. What more do you, what can these next 30 games, are now 28, I think it is. What can these next 30 odd games show you that the last 4 years hasn't? You're not good enough. The roster isn't good enough. And you don't have the capital to fix it on the fly. You don't have the money and you don't have the draft capital to fix it on the fly, because apparently you had to give Lonzo Ball an extension. I don't understand that. They've been trying for years, the last couple of years, to get his salary off the books because it was a gigantic albatross around their necks. And admittedly, it's not anybody's fault. He got hurt in a way that nobody could have ever foreseen the recovery that he needed. But you were actively trying to get his salary off the books. You were finally able to do it in a meaningful way, and you double down on him. And I know that in NBA money, $20 million is pocket change. You find that in the couch when you're vacuuming. I understand that money in the NBA is just different. It just is. $20 million is life altering for you or me. For NBA, that's a career backup journeyman center's money. You know, I understand that, but it's money you didn't have to allocate. There was no pressure to sign Lonzo Ball to an extension, but you did it for no apparent reason. You need to be getting younger and you need to be getting better. Lonzo Ball's an amazing story, but extending him doesn't make any sense at all for a team that is in desperate need of a teardown rebuild. And I also don't like that this is where we're at with the Bulls. All the teams in town right now are bad, frankly. You know, we talked about this at the turn of the new year when it was the only team that posted a winning record last year was the Cubs, and they were 4 games over 500. Everybody else was well below 500 for the calendar year 2024. And so far 2025 doesn't exactly look like it's going to be extremely better. We'll see what comes with the Bears. We'll get to that eventually at some point, but not tonight for sure. So I just don't understand it. And what will these next 30 games teach you about this team that the last 2-3 seasons hasn't done? You need to tear down. You need to rebound. As hard as it is, you have got to pick a lane. You can't just be in the middle here all the time. It can't just be making the play-in tournament and getting eliminated in the 8 seed game or whatever it is they're going to wind up eventually calling it. I appreciate the NBA's willingness to think outside the box on things and be willing to try something just because, not have the attitude of, well, we've never done that before. Well, that means we shouldn't do it. I appreciate that they don't have that attitude, but as somebody that has had to then pay attention to the play-in tournament the last couple of years, I don't want to have to pay attention to the play-in tournament again. I really would appreciate having a break from that. But it feels like that's where the Bulls are headed. It feels like they're going to finish either 9th or 10th in the East and wind up in that play-in tournament. But they'll be in control of their first-round pick. Great. But that means you're going to be drafting too far down to actually get the high-end talent. This is a team in desperate need of a teardown. And they just won't do it. I don't understand it. I don't get LaVine. The Zach LaVine trade made all the sense in the world through the lens of you are beginning the painful stage of tearing down and rebuilding. It made all the sense in the world through that lens. Now it just looks like a salary dump. Okay, yeah, Zach LaVine was expensive, but he was a good shooter. He was a decent star. Not good enough to be the number one star on a championship team. Probably not even good enough to be the number two star, frankly, if we're being honest about it. Probably more like the third guy on a true championship caliber team. But it's a guy that would be a contributor on a championship caliber team. And now it looks like you got rid of him just to try and save a few bucks. There was at least one deal on the table for Nikola Vucevic. And there could have been two deals on the table. And they both fell apart. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't understand the thinking, and it's infuriating. Everybody has been pleading for the Bulls to pick a lane, and they just found a new way to stay right in the middle. It's just very frustrating. Very frustrating. The Bulls, they are back in action tomorrow night. They will be taking on, as I pull up the schedule right now on the fly. They will be taking on. They're hosting the Pistons tomorrow night. Back to back home games against the Pistons tomorrow and Wednesday. There was some rescheduling that had to get done there before heading out to New York to take on the Knicks. And then coming back home to play the Suns this week. So a busy week for the Bulls. And it's going to be very interesting to see how the return to United Center is this week, how the fans respond to some things. They already had a chance a little bit on Saturday night against the Warriors, the first home game after the trade deadline, to voice some opinions. We'll see what other opinions might get voiced as the week progresses and the Bulls just continue to be stuck in the middle with you. I guess that's a song they should say. They've had a great run all these years with Sirius. Now maybe they need to just change things up a little bit there for the intro music. We are going to change things up a little bit here on the show. We're going to take one last break. And then when we come back, yeah, it's cold outside. Yeah, there was some snow on the ground. Yeah, there's some winter weather warnings for this week. But spring is in the air because pitchers and catchers have reported out in Arizona. We will talk spring training baseball next here on Chi-Town Weekly, part of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Be right back after this.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Big Mike from Indie Sports Nation. Come hang out with me each and every Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, where we talk things Indiana sports. We talk Colts, Pacers, Fever, Indy Ignite, and we dive into the college scene as well. Boilermakers, Hoosiers, Irish, Bulldogs, and every school in between. And we don't stop there. We'll sprinkle in some NHRA and cover the IndyCar series. From the turf to the hardwood to the track, we got you covered. Come hang out with your boy, Big Mike, each and every Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Indy Sports Nation, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, IE Sports Radio family and other sports families. My name is Alden Kay, and I want to welcome you to the AZ Sports Zone on the IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. If you're a fan of the Valley and the Grand Canyon State like me, then I've got the show for you. Tune in every week, where I will update you and give you the latest news for the Arizona Cardinals, Phoenix Suns, Arizona Diamondbacks, ASU Sun Devils, U of A Wildcats, GCU Antelope, and of course, the NAU Lumberjacks. Again, if you're a Valley sports fan and like all that is desert sports like me, tune in every week here on the IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll see you then.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnick with you here for just a couple more minutes before we wrap things up on the show here tonight. Talked Super Bowl through the lens of the Bears. We discussed the Bulls and their strange goings on and their workings. Wanted to end the show on a little bit of a high note, though. Yes, there is snow in the forecast for this week. Yes, it is still very cold. It is still, winter is still very much making its presence felt, but spring is in the air, and that officially happened yesterday. Why? Cubs pitchers and catchers reported out to spring training in Arizona yesterday. Craig Counsell was the first one there. Go figure, the manager being the first man on the scene. But Shota Imanaga and Justin Steele and a whole host of other Cubs pitchers and catchers reported spring training is upon us. The Cubs, they get to report a little earlier this year, of course, because they're going to be heading out to Japan to kick off the regular season early here in just a little over a month, about a month and 5 or 6 days from now. They're going to be heading out to Japan for the start of the MLB season with a 2-game series against the Dodgers over in Japan, over in Tokyo, in the Tokyo Dome. That will be very exciting. So they get to report a little bit early and start their spring training a little bit early. The position players will actually be heading out there on Friday, on Valentine's Day. And kind of stinks for their sweethearts and loved ones there that they have to, sorry, honey, I gotta go catch a flight. We'll do Valentine's Day on Thursday. Good evening, Andre Area Sports. Good evening to you, sir. So there is some hope springing eternal with the Cubs. Still no Alex Bregman signing, but he hasn't signed anywhere else yet. So there is still some thought that he could wind up with the Cubs. The Cubs are interested, but it seems like that what the Cubs want to do is more like what they did with Cody Bellinger after he had his 1-year prove-it deal, where the Cubs would like to do basically a 1-year deal with an option year or maybe 2 option years tacked on to the end. Maybe they do some mutual options, maybe not just have it be exclusively a player option, maybe have it be a mutual player and team option on there tacked on, if Bregman and his representation would be willing to go for that. Bregman is still hoping for a 5 or 6 year deal. It looks like he probably won't be getting that. So who knows? Maybe that means the Cubs, because they've got a little bit of cash to throw around there and be able to offer, all right, we can't do a long-term deal, but for 1 year, sure, we can throw $28-30 million at you for a year, more than what some of the other teams are willing to do on a 1 year, on a year by year basis, on a 3 or 4 year deal. And then you can hit free agency and take another bite at that apple if you want. So spring training is here. The White Sox are going to be reporting over the weekend. We'll have their pitchers and catchers report over the weekend, and then their day players will report next week out to spring training in Arizona. So we will very soon be doing some projections for both sides of town. I might start that as early as next week. As a matter of fact, PECOTA has come out with their numbers for both sides of town. So we'll be diving in and talking some baseball. So if that is a sport that is near and dear to your heart, we will be getting into that for sure. Another place that you'll want to be checking out then on the network, starting Tuesdays, I'm not sure if they're starting tomorrow, or if they are starting next week, but IE Sports Radio has a new baseball show starting up for this season. The Bullpen Bulletin. Ricky K, Alden K, who you just heard from our Arizona show, and then also Mike Pat will be hosting that. So the triple-headed monster there, breaking down everything happening in the world of baseball. They will be Tuesdays. I do not have the time, unfortunately, but follow along on social media and be sure to be following the station on YouTube, and you will get the show. They will be on Tuesdays, the Bullpen Bulletin, breaking down everything happening in the world of baseball. So we will try to have those guys on as well to discuss Cubs and White Sox in depth. That is going to do it for our show here tonight. Big shout out and thank you, of course, to each and every one of our sponsors. Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Go to planet.net to place your order. Vital Apparel, brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Go to vitalapparel.com. Use the promo code IESR at checkout to get 15% off of your order. Since you're getting yourself workout clothes as well, you also need to be getting yourself supplements to make sure you're getting the most out of your workout. Go to getrawnutrition.com to order your supplements, and when you do, use the promo code IESR for 10% off your order there. So we thank them for their sponsorship. Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. Go to iesportsradio.com/Seal the Deal Wax Seals to place your orders there as well. Thank you also to Larry B., the czar and overlord of all things IE Sports Radio. Thank you also for your flexibility as I had to shuffle the schedule around tonight. Thank you to everybody that hung out in the chat room with me tonight. Dre Area Sports, Wes Trueblood, Karen Rodriguez, Ralph Felice, Kathy Karnick. Thank you all for hanging out. Thank you to each of the 80-plus people that were watching the show tonight across Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Thank you guys for being here. And finally, thank you for everybody that was listening later on in the week as a podcast, whether it's on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for your support. I really do appreciate it. Next week, we'll be talking some Bulls a little bit. We're going to start getting into the baseball a little bit as well. I also want to take a look at the college basketball scene around town. Just take a temperature check of where everybody is at. Until then, everybody have a great week. Be safe, be healthy. We will see you next time.